Back to back, and the belly to belly. Well, I don't give a damn because I'm stone dead already. On this episode, speaking of spirits, we're having a zombie jamboree.
That was awesome, Mark. Yes, we're speaking of spirits, and my name's Colleen.
I'm Tim.
Oh, Mark.
I'm Katie.
And we are talking about zombies tonight. Has anybody ever seen one?
I want to hear your story.
I will tell you the story, but it's not my story. I'm relating a story.
I don't know. There's a group out that's got a song called Phone Zombies. I see them all the time.
Oh, yeah, you're a funny guy. You're just a barrel of laughs.
I am. I'm on a roll tonight. I'm doing good.
I'm telling you.
Well, and that's a question that I've always had about zombies. So is zombies a physical thing or is it a mental thing?
I think it's
what
both.
defines
I think
a
it's
zombie?
both.
That's a good
So,
question.
they're most commonly found in horror and fantasy genre, right? But the term comes from the Haitian folklore, in which a zombie is a dead body reanimated through various methods, most commonly magic like voodoo.
I was just going to say that sounds Haitian.
Yes.
Sounds like voodoo.
Yes.
Have you ever had a voodoo donut?
Huh?
Have you ever had a voodoo donut?
Oh, no.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Really?
Fantastic, yeah.
It sounds like there's alcohol involved with that.
Well, maybe a little.
Yeah.
So they have it's a donut that looks like a person. And they have like a raspberry filling in it.
Oh, nice.
And they give you
Strange.
pretzels.
And you
so
dip
you
it?
can put the
Puncture
pretzels
the
in the
body
person.
and-
And
Oh,
Nice.
Like voodoo.
It's-
That's amazing.
Awesome.
it's fun.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Where do we find these things?
It's actually called Voodoo Donuts.
Really?
It's a chain on the West Coast.
Nice.
Nice.
Speaking of voodoo dolls,
Oh, Lord.
of all places,
Oh, Lord.
the Portneuf Hospital carried voodoo dolls in the gift shop. They call them damn it dolls, but they're the same thing. I walked into the gift shop. I'm like, "Are you?" I said voodoo dolls, and the very proper little lady in there said, "No, they're damn it dolls."
Oh, my God.
I went,
Better.
It's the same thing. They even had pins in them.
I have one of those, and I work at a hospital, so
There
maybe
you
it's a theme. It's at my desk, so
Yep.
maybe it's a theme.
So zombie folklore has been around for centuries in Haiti, possibly originating in the 17th century when West African slaves were brought in to work in Haiti's sugarcane plantations. We don't know. So they're most oftenly portrayed as the undead, flesh-eating, decaying corpse that has been enjoyed a popularity surge in recent years, like The Walking Dead, or Getting Their Groove On in Michael Jackson's Thriller video, which is my favorite. Mm-hmm. Zombies dominate pop cultures, but are they real? Like many other monsters, which are usually a product of superstition, religion, and fear, zombies have a basis in fact. And several verified cases of zombies have been reported from the Haitian voodoo culture. And that's where my story comes in. It's not my story, but I have a friend who spent some time in Haiti.
People definitely need to tune in to hear this story. I don't want them to get a sneak peek.
And she saw one. She was walking and this fella was walking towards her. When she got close to him, she smelled decaying flesh. And she said his eyes were completely blank, and he was disheveled looking, and he smelled like he was decaying, and there was nothing there. There was nothing in his face.
Yeah.
And she said it absolutely terrified her because she's alone walking. Like, it was more country where she was, like on the island. It wasn't in a city, a populated area, and she was terrified because she didn't know what he was going to do. But she said absolutely without a doubt he was dead. Absolutely without a doubt. And it terrified her. And she spent a great deal of time in like New Orleans. And she said, absolutely, this is something that Haiti does. People who practice voodoo are capable of doing this. There's a light and a dark to voodoo, like there is in any religion.
Yeah.
And yeah, terrified her. So, according to folklore, it's usually either a reawakened corpse with a ravenous appetite, or someone bitten by another zombie infected with the zombie virus. So, but that's popular folklore.
I feel like that's more pop culture.
Yeah, I think
that's more recent.
Yeah, the voodoo aspect of it is the reanimated corpse.
And it's ancient. I mean,
and it's for a purpose.
Yeah.
They're reanimated for a purpose. Like to do something.
Oh, so they got to have a mission.
Yeah, it's not like they're just being reanimated. They're reanimated for a reason, like
to kind of like
to go kill somebody or go do something. It's a purpose-driven thing in voodoo.
You ready for this?
Wild.
That's Hocus Pocus. Come on, it was pretty good.
I get your reference.
Pocus.
Yes.
Ancient Greece may have been the first civilization terrorized by a fear of the undead. Archaeologists have unearthed many ancient graves which contain skeletons pinned down by rocks and other heavy objects, assumably to prevent dead bodies from reanimating. Zombie folklore have been around, like we said, since the 17th century in Haiti, and it could represent like the plight of the slaves. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
is there a connection here between this and the vampire folklore?
Like both
and
undead.
the body being reanimated.
I don't know.
Back.
I don't,
because it's just interesting that a lot of ancient cultures would have this. Now there's kind of two different directions between a zombie and a vampire, but
right.
That one basic connection there of a body being reanimated and coming back.
True.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. So voodoo is a religion based in West Africa and practiced throughout Haiti and the Caribbean, Brazil, the American South, right? Like New Orleans and in all over the South, actually, and other places with an African heritage. Many people who believe the voodoo religion today believe zombies are myths. But there are some practitioners known as the Bokor in voodoo, and they're the ones that have apparently the capability of doing this.
It sure seems like we've talked about those folks a lot.
Voodoo?
The I can't pronounce it.
Bokor? Mm-hmm. We have?
Isn't that one we talked about them, and then words and we're getting along today. The more Spanish religion.
You're putting me on the spot.
Other words. I'm sorry.
Santeria.
Yes.
We did talk about voodoo. Yes. We had an episode of voodoo. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we did talk a little bit about Santeria, which can get very dark very quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it sure seems, sorry to put you on the spot there, but it sure seems like those two folks have a whole lot of, I don't know if power's the right word. But
they're able to harness power, definitely.
Yeah.
I would think it takes a tremendous amount of power to be able to reanimate the dead.
Yeah.
It would take an incredible amount of power.
Yeah.
Whoever does that has got some pretty solid abilities, skills to do that.
Yeah. Bokors have a tradition of using herbs, shells, fish, animal parts, bones, and other objects to create concoctions, which make a powder, which contain tetrodotoxin, tetrodotoxin, a
Yes.
deadly neurotoxin found in pufferfish and some other marine species. Used carefully at sublethal doses, tetrodotoxin combination may cause zombie-like symptoms like difficulty in walking, mental confusion, respiratory problems. High doses of this toxin can lead to paralysis and coma. This could cause someone to appear dead and then buried alive. Right?
That's
Which is then
about.
they're later revived because they come out of whatever toxin if they're alive long enough to survive the suffocation of being buried.
But then again, that would also explain the mental side of it if you went so long without oxygen to the brain.
True.
You know, even if they were dead and then reanimated at a later date, they would have some type of brain damage.
Katie's going, I just don't believe this.
I have a thought, and I'm like,
Okay.
I don't know if I should say it or not. Because now, I was raised, all right? I was raised in a church. I'm baptized as a Methodist. Okay, I'm not whatever, okay? But does this mean that Jesus was a zombie?
I presented that theory on Easter, and a lot of people disowned me at that point.
And I don't mean that as a bad way. Like I said, I was baptized as a Methodist. I believe
ham
Jesus was a
tasted
real
weird that
person.
year.
Oh my
But
God, Tim.
as the definition, does that mean as a definition?
Anybody who's
Yes.
been anybody who
been
comes back, well,
resurrected or
three
Physically,
days
because
they're
Jesus
dead.
was physically back, not as
Right.
a spirit. I'm just saying, maybe I've had too much to drink. Anyway, I'm sorry.
We are speaking of
But
spirits.
that theory has been presented many times, yes.
Oh,
Well,
very
yeah, it's
interesting.
kind of interesting. Are zombies real? I've never seen. I don't. Well, I see a lot of weird teenagers now, so I don't know.
You're
But
like, I couldn't say for sure.
I'm finally that age where, you know.
So
No,
that's
it's-
something I thought about earlier. I remember when I was in high school, and I've been trying to think of the drug that they were saying. But I thought they called it crocodile, and it was likened to meth.
Yes.
It did all sorts of
remember
funky
that.
things to you.
Whoa.
It,
No,
like,
there is one that
made-
makes you jerk. I've seen people, they look like they're having complete fits walking down the
they're
road.
like zombified. I know. I remember what you're talking about.
and their arms and legs are like disconnected and weird.
And they said that it made your skin flake off. Like,
Ooh.
yes. They're
Yeah,
like
the things
decomposing, but they're alive.
What is? I can't. Why I would not want to take something like that. I'm sorry, but though it's rare, there are several credible reports in medical journals of people using these compounds to induce paralysis in people, then revive them from the grave. These toxins.
Spooky.
A 1997 article in the British medical journal The Lancet described 3 verifiable accounts of zombies. In one case, a Haitian woman who appeared to be dead was buried in a family tomb, only to reappear 3 years later.
That's a long. That is not due to a cytotoxin because
No, 3
3
years.
years later.
3 years, you'd think you'd be completely, really decomposed. An investigation revealed that her tomb was filled with stones, and her parents agreed to admit her to a local hospital. In another well-documented case, a Haitian man named, I'm not even going to say this because I can't pronounce it.
Okay.
Let's just call him, I don't know, Chuck. Entered a local hospital with a severe respiratory problem, this is 1962. After he slipped into a coma, Chuck was declared dead and was buried shortly after, but then he came back. So in a tomb, tombs aren't necessarily you're not buried
I was
underground.
gonna say, I feel like you can survive easier in a tomb versus like.
Yeah, like in New Orleans, when you go to the cemeteries there, they have a cemetery walk, and it's really cool, and I had to go pay my respects to Marie Laveau.
Cool.
You know, because you have
Very
to.
well.
Yeah.
You have to. If you're going there, you have to pay respects to her, and
So
everybody
cool.
leaves something for her.
That's
And
so cool.
they have they're vaults that are above ground, and it's not the water table that everybody thinks. It's the
Right.
heat. It was explained by the cemetery workers there that. So they have many bodies buried in one tomb, and they have like an ash drawer like in your fire, like cleaning out a wood stove, and you have sometimes a drawer that collects the ashes, and you can pull that out and dump it, right?
Yeah.
So these tombs are built like that because the extreme heat in Louisiana, basically you can decompose at a really, really fast rate. So if you look at the side of the tomb, they'll have like a Revolutionary War soldier, and then all of these different names from all these different dates.
Oh my God.
On the side of the tomb. The tomb isn't just for one person.
Oh
and
my
as that
God.
person then decomposes, basically it's cooked like a piece of meat. They can clean out the drawer and put the next person in.
Recycling.
And then they just put another name on the side of the tomb. Now, Marie Laveau is Marie Laveau. She has her tomb.
She ain't sharing her tomb with
I don't think she's sharing her space, nor should she.
No.
But if you look, there's different names and date ranges from the late 1600s, maybe even earlier, but I think 1600s was the earliest I saw all the way up to current.
Gnarly.
So they clean the person on the bottom of the list out of their ashtray.
No, they just dump it to the bottom of the tomb,
Yeah.
and then they shove that
they're
drawer back
still
in, and then they
buried
put the person on top. And then as they like cook inside this chamber, this oven, it's an oven basically because of the heat in Louisiana. They cook, and then nothing. They're reduced to ash and bone, and they just.
So that's why they have
Empty.
family tombs.
So they're still in the tomb. They're just
Wow.
bones and ash.
But that's why you have family tombs, because you don't want
Yes.
to be sharing your space with like some random.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't have family tombs. So they started
It's just a party.
right.
Yeah.
Tomb. Okay.
So there
Very
you have the
interesting.
Revolutionary War soldier or earlier, all the way up to current day.
That's
But
crazy.
that definitely disproves the fact that like you couldn't be in that tomb and then come back because you'd be roasted pretty quickly. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the girl. The
Oh well, I don't know how many years it takes. It could. What if it's 25 years? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how long
Yeah.
it takes to roast the ham. I really, you know what I'm saying?
Please forgive us, spirits. You are the best ham.
You know. So, 18. So this dude, this Chuck, right? He was declared dead and he was buried. 18 years later, he walks up to a village marketplace, and he walked up to his sister
Oh no.
and said, "Hey, hi, how you doing?" I mean,
What year was that? That he died?
he died in 1962.
I'm sure that didn't traumatize her at all.
No.
I don't want
He said he'd been buried alive and then was dug up and put to work on a sugar plantation. So he'd been alive this whole time. After he was dug up. And then he finally was able to reconnect with his family. So, but zombies in the sense that we know them in pop culture don't talk really. They're not
They're not really.
yeah, they're not like wicked.
Yeah, they don't have the mental capacity to go find their sister and introduce themselves.
Yeah.
Yo, long time.
So,
no see.
yeah, hey.
And I think too, like pop culture really reflects where we are in society because a couple years ago it was like Contagion and it was like disease epidemic. So it definitely changes.
According to The Undead 18th Century, a book written by Linda Troost, zombies appeared in literature as far back as 1697 and were described as spirits or ghosts, not as cannibalistic fiends.
Oh, so they kind of.
They arrived on the film scene at the same time as their monster peers Frankenstein and Dracula, with the 1932 release of The White Zombie. But it wasn't until the 1968 Zombies of the Night of the Living Dead by George Romero that they became...
Saw that.
Yeah, I know. Great movie. Over the next 15 years, Romero directed 2 more zombie films, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. So the special effects, of course, improved with each film because you had several years in between them. So the zombies appeared more gruesome and realistic. Speaking of zombies, just as a side note, you need to come see Pocatello Paranormal Research in the 4th of July parade this year.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
gonna have the cutest zombies
We
ever.
are going to have some great zombies in the parade. So, are zombies in the Bible, you might ask?
They are, aren't
I think
they?
we already
just-
Besides
Well,
Jesus, besides Jesus,
Okay.
besides Jesus, I'm not trying to
The
offend
modern
anyone.
day carnivorous zombie isn't in the Bible, but there were many references to bodies being reanimated or resurrected, which have may inspired the zombie myth. The book of Ezekiel describes a vision where Ezekiel is dropped in a boneyard and prophesies to the bones. The bones start to shake and become covered with muscle and flesh until they're reanimated, yet there was no breath in them. The book of Isaiah states, "Thy dead men shall live, together with thy dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in the dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead." So, it's kind of interesting.
The biblical, I feel like the biblical side of that is very, very interesting. You even think about the story of when God creates man, just blowing air into dust and ash, and that's reanimating something. It's very interesting how things lead back to old stories.
that's a good point.
Every myth, has a kernel of truth there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I think the Haitians' voodoo probably is still, but very kept under wraps.
Yeah.
And was incredibly strong.
I agree. I think that's the closest to zombies we have, is the reanimating that the Haitians do.
Yeah. There's Angela Becerra Vitterger. She's a Stanford literary scholar who told the Stanford News that she believes mankind's perception of violence took a drastic turn after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. She felt that such large-scale disasters caused people to fictionalize their deaths on a mass scale and focus survival on the fittest, which is the common theme in zombie movies, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The CDC, which we all believe now, right?
Oh,
took the advantage of the zombie mania and created a zombie preparedness website to motivate people to prepare for disasters and tips on how to survive a zombie apocalypse and other catastrophes.
I want to know what's on that list.
I know the site was a huge hit. Apparently, wonder if it's still up. Whether you're a fan of zombies or the thought of running into them causes you to sleep with one eye open, they're a part of modern pop culture. Mm-hmm. So, although the zombie myth has a basis in fact, today's zombies have taken on a life of their own. No pun intended.
So punny.
Yeah, so funny. According to the Michigan University, they have some interesting stuff on zombies, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I think I saw that.
Yeah.
Were they the ones that also did the exhibit about the science behind zombies?
I'm not sure.
And as a side note, the CDC Center for Zombie Preparedness is still up.
Oh my God.
Oh
that's
my
awesome.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the last one to go down.
Literally.
Yeah, we'll be the last page on the internet.
Yeah.
But there's a big disclaimer. This page is no longer being updated. I'm actually glad to hear that.
So, the Michigan University says zombies, reanimated corpses, are found deep at the bottom of Maury's uncanny valley. Although still in human form, they are no longer connected to us by life, and they breach our deepest taboos, which is cannibalism, grave desecration, and the strict separation of life and death. I'd say I'd agree with that.
Yeah, that's actually
fair.
a good analysis.
They have become familiar to most Americans through horror films of the last century. Nearly all find zombies repulsive, but horror fans also find them exciting, and even humorous.
No.
The gore that accompanies any respectable zombie film still connects us to our fear of death, even in its most palatable form, rotting flesh. But the fear that comes with the thrills for those who can stomach it. It may first seem that history has little connection with our flesh-eating friends, but they have complex origins.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So,
I just, no. I don't do zombies.
Spooky. Yeah, they're spooky. I don't know what I mean, have you ever run across somebody who you thought was not alive? I mean, not in the sense of a ghost or an apparition, but like something with a mass that you could touch.
Natural. That is so scary to me. Like, one of my favorite books is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But the scariest thing about the book is not the monster, it is the unnaturalness of it. Like, I think our spirits are meant to live on, and that's great and fine and dandy, but your body sure as hell should not be moving around after you're dead. No.
Well, so remember I told you last week how those Australian researchers at the Body Farm...
Oh.
Okay, so she's freaking out.
No.
They had stuck cameras in coffins because they have an Australian version of the Body Farm that we have here that is a research facility for the dead, right? For bodies and how they decay in various situations, for law enforcement, for right, for all of that. So what the Australian research Body Farm did was they put cameras in different coffins, and they did this many times, and for up to a year. After someone is dead, their body is still in motion. Their arms, which is typically at their sides, their hands will come all the way up to their shoulder and go all the way back down and come all the way back up and go all the way back down.
Calisthenics.
Yes, and they think it's the tendons.
The muscle contraction.
It's the tendons that are drying out. And as they dry out, and then they just keep moving, and they think that the legs would do the same thing if there was more room in a coffin.
I was going to say, well, how can they move their arms?
Well, apparently there's enough room for them to kind of
wider. I wonder if they're just like the cheap body boxes.
the old West Pine coffin.
Yeah, I was going to say it. Take like a piano-sized coffin for my petite little self to have enough room to move.
In a straitjacket, your coffin.
So there's a work called Zombie by the Haitian artist Wilson Bugard.
I saw that. Yeah,
in 1939.
Yes, I was just looking at that.
African scholars who seriously discuss the topic called zombies say the word comes from the Congo for the name of the soul.
Which is yes, that is so cool. That's what I used, and now I can't pull it up because
internet.
Down. But
Tim and his internet.
Tim and your internet.
I've done everything I can. The box is right there.
When slaves were brought to Haiti and the voodoo religion grew amongst the old African traditions and the harsh conditions of slavery, the idea of zombie was born. Zombies are found in the fringes of the voodoo religion, not in everyday praising of the gods, of course. So it's always the extremists of everything. It's on the fringe, right? It's estimated that 80 to 90% of the Haitians serve the spirits or practice voodoo. In voodoo, all people die in two ways, either naturally, by sickness and God's will, or unnaturally, which is like murder before their time. Those who die unnaturally linger at their grave, unable to rejoin their ancestry until the gods approve. Souls are vulnerable at this time, and their will may be snatched up by a powerful sorcerer, which is the boko, and locked into a bottle, which the boko uses to control their undead and unliving body. At other times, he lets their body rest, but just uses the soul.
And I just tried to find the name of her and I can't, but I follow this woman that goes to Africa, and she's actually gotten a good enough relationship with some of these tribes that practice voodoo. That's like the ancient voodoo, like the origin of voodoo. And it's so common and so normal that they do stuff like the reanimating, and it's like normal to them, and it's just so interesting.
Think about there's that one island where that one kid who was in some kind of religion, and he went to try to interact with the natives on this island, and they ate him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's that one island.
I don't.
That did
not go well.
That didn't go well.
Rothschild, wasn't it?
Yes, and I don't blame them. Like,
well, I mean, so
no reason to be there.
They're headhunters. They are cannibals, and anybody who comes in there from that's not their tribe, they will kill and eat.
It is free.
There's still things that go on in modern day 2022 that are like, wow, really, that happens? But yeah, don't go to the island and try to interact with a bunch of cannibals. Yeah, so don't go to Africa where they're practicing reanimation. and not expect to be a voodoo guy like a
At least
zombie.
don't go there and die. Don't leave your body there.
Well, or be murdered there.
Or both.
Or yes. So the Bokus, they say this doesn't have to be unpleasant for the soul or the body. Under the right circumstances, a hard-working man may prefer to continue working rather than to lie waiting in the ground. I love how they rationalize this.
Will you please just put me to work?
No, you're a hard-working guy. We'll just have you, I don't know, keep laying bricks for the rest of your unnatural death in life, okay?
Here's your new time card.
More unsavory Boko could proposedly kill a man to make a zombie and then force him into the mindless toil or worse. Black magic and evil intentions. But it cracks me up how they rationalize this. Like, if you're a hardworking dude, don't you want to just work forever and not just lay there?
You're just
keep on going. Yeah.
Sit there by your grave anyway.
That kind of defeats the point
Kind
of
of like what we have to do anymore to pay our taxes.
Really?
Papa Mundi, a voodoo Hungan, which is a priest, and I'm probably slaughtering that word, who works to undo bad magic of unscrupulous Boko. Here he is, so he believes that only the fringes of voodoo practice this. It's not common, and I'm really...
I disagree.
Really?
I do, and I don't think that it's common as in, I don't think voodoo is bad or dark, but I think it takes a very special person to be able to tap into the dark side of voodoo. So I think it's common in the sense that people that practice voodoo are aware of it, and they know it and they know to be careful of it. I think it's only uncommon because I think it's harder to do.
Well,
I really do.
So this guy, Papa Mundi, doesn't believe that Haitians feel zombies. He says they don't fear zombies. They fear becoming one.
I don't blame
I
him
would
there.
say that's probably a pretty big fear.
There's logic there I can follow.
Yeah, I can follow that too.
Yeah.
A few who do see zombies as a concrete reality, talking of Haitians, do not fear the zombies themselves, who are only mindless and pathetic, he says. Rather, they fear becoming a zombie under the wrong circumstance and against their will. The Boko's power to make zombies is used more often as a threat to maintain social order. Interesting.
Control the masses.
Yes.
I believe that.
Only rarely will he go through with the act of catching a soul. The stories are told with laughter. as much I'm like, what?
Social
like
intimidation.
Yeah.
It's like Santa Claus. Like, if you're not good, Santa's going to leave you cold.
I know.
And hating.
I'd rather have the cold than have my soul and body
The
snatched.
Boki's going to get you and turn you into a zombie. That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, the Easter Bunny used to be somewhat dark, too.
It did, yeah.
Really dark.
Really?
So, yeah, really dark. So, I'm not sure that, I don't know. Are zombies real? They could be. Well, I guess they are.
Well, the dark side of Santa Claus is Krampus.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't.
Although I liked Festivus a lot more.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, that's very true.
Be good or you're gonna be eaten.
I know, right?
Casual.
We have a lot of dark history in the world.
We do.
And it's a lot of it like controlling everything. It's control.
A lot of social control. Like
Yeah,
the zombie
yeah.
thing.
Well, although Africa and Haiti, I think probably still practices.
I totally, yeah.
I'm betting there's still practitioners out there that are.
Oh, I
Do I believe that corpses can be reanimated? I don't know. I'm on the line with this one. I'm not sure. I'm thinking it could be a possibility. I've seen some weird stuff.
I'd be interested in more of some of the science behind it. I know there was a class at ISU that did the science behind stuff like that.
You mean like Frankenstein stuff?
Yeah. Like, what is that?
That is a class I have to take.
Yes, I don't think they're doing it anymore, but I'd be interested if. I try to reach out
Like Pet
to some
Cemetery,
people.
reanimating the family cat so it comes back and it eats everybody?
Well, hopefully not eats everybody, but what is the actual scientific probability of that? So I would be interested. Maybe we need to do a zombies part 2 and delve more into the science.
Actually,
physiology.
I had some really good connections talking about this because from the demonology side, I come back to voodoo a lot. Because, well, again, I've studied this more than mentally balanced person should. But a demon is a very specific type of entity.
Yes.
That's fair.
And the ones that I refer to as the dark ones, because I really haven't found a better name for them yet. The dark ones are not demons. They're the ones that the books and the movies are made out of.
Yeah.
The ones that try to influence and destroy people. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to come more and more that they come from a voodoo practitioner. Now, again, not everybody doing voodoo does this, but these ones that come from the voodoo.
So,
and it's something intentional too, like it's.
So,
is you know about Santeria?
Yes.
Is Santeria is an offshoot of voodoo, or is it?
I thought it was a separate thing.
I thought it had some history there that was somewhat shared, but I know it's from more Latin America.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, I think Santeria is separate.
Remember the connections now.
Okay.
I think they've got some minor connections.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of their belief systems, but then they kind of go there.
Because that one is super dark, super fast. Where voodoo can be very light and beautiful.
Voodoo can be.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to say everybody in voodoo is doing this. It's a very small section. But the one thing that I'm thinking here is that if you're going to reanimate a body, one of the options is that you have an entity that can come into the body.
All right, now we're going back. Wait a minute. Now we're going back.
But then again, that
on
would
out of body experiences.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Which they talk about.
That's what I was going to bring up right after you.
In the Bible, they talk about how that golden or the silver thread can be.
So you're having an out of body experience, and some voodoo practitioner puts something into the body while you're gone.
Or make sure your cord is broken.
Somebody passes away and the spirit leaves the body.
And quickly the
body is alone. You bring a separate entity in to take over that body.
Nope.
Okay.
Now that would also explain. Now this is just a theory, right? But that would also explain these dark ones, entities that are looking to inhabit a body.
They're just floating around looking for space.
No.
Or
welcome to my world.
Well, you can also say that the voodoo guy that I can't pronounce,
the Boko.
Boko.
Maybe they know how to cut a cord.
That's what I was just thinking.
They said that they can bottle the soul, the spirit.
Oh, I ain't got to
see. Now that's another thing. If they know how to cut the cord,
they know how to put something back in.
Yeah.
An astral projection, you gotta protect yourself because someone's gonna.
Well, and then you wouldn't have to worry about that whole reanimating dead cells.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's take this a step further. I just had a thought. Do we have any more alcohol? I just had a thought. So, you know how, and I completely get this, somebody with a really traumatic brain injury completely changes personality.
Yes.
What if, for that moment in time, during the accident, they're inhabited?
Do you want
by somebody else?
You want to hear a creepy story about that?
Then they're trapped. They're in there.
That's a possibility.
No, get this. So my cousin just recently, he literally just got out of the hospital. He's in a horrible motorcycle accident, had a traumatic brain injury, had strokes, broke like every bone in his body, right? When he finally woke up, his family was like, do you know where you're at? And he's like, they're like, you're in the hospital, you're in an accident. He's like, no, I'm dead and you guys were at my funeral. You're at my funeral right now. And he totally changed. Like, personality. He talked like a 6-year-old and then was out again, had surgery. And when he came out of anesthesia, then he was back to normal. And the surgery was just to fix his arms.
So that's well, and there's documented cases of people who have come out of accidents with a new dialect and a new accent, like in British accent. They've never been to England.
I've heard about that.
So what happened there? So is this somebody popping in?
People just like waiting around for a body?
If at any point, because you've got the physical body, which is just, the meat sack that carries the soul.
Oh, God.
And
that was very vivid.
I don't know where he's going with this.
He trashed the bikini industry. Not at all sexual. I'm so sorry I had to.
That's awesome.
I didn't even think of that, but that's a bonus. I'll take it.
I know. I'm like, Vivian, what's happening?
So you got the physical body, but then you got the soul inside it. And if something happens, if the spirit or the soul leaves that physical body, then you've got some type of...
There's a void that needs to be filled.
Yeah, that can be filled.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like, old Christian and Judaism, like old folklore, or not folklore, I shouldn't say that, but old beliefs kind of go back to that idea because...
They had to bury the body that day?
Yeah, they had to bury the body that day, and, like, a lot of people believe when your child is born, you have to baptize them right away, because if they pass away... Mm-hmm. They're vulnerable. They don't have...
Yeah, so, but what, right? In Judaism...
Oh, see, now that's a good...
I wonder if it's the same kind of belief where it's like you have to protect the body.
You have to protect the body from something.
Yeah.
Well, then, so where did those beliefs come from if things didn't happen?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I mean, that's everything that...
I went down that rabbit hole just this last week.
Because it's no coincidence.
Would you like the answer?
Let's know.
Yes, because it's no coincidence that this is across religions and stuff.
What we've seen politically,
oh boy,
historically,
yes,
whatever Eli you want to put it to.
This is a real rabbit hole.
Right?
Yeah.
Who wrote the history of the world?
White man.
The winners.
But I shouldn't say
the winners.
Well, yeah, the winners.
So, what did the winners put in there?
Anything they wanted to make themselves look better.
And keep control, like you were saying
Exactly.
earlier.
So it's all about control. Now, if you look at religion, and any religion you want to say,
right?
Yeah.
Any of them.
Yeah.
What if you don't want people to know something? What are you going to do?
Erase
Make it scary, or make it scary.
Right.
Make it bad.
Make it bad.
Don't write about it.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. Hide it.
This stuff didn't come... I mean, Judaism, the practice of burying the dead the day before sundown.
Or at least having to sit with the body.
Right, well, yes, we used to have that like practice of the wake where they sat with the body until it could be... So that it was never alone.
If it was on the Sabbath, they would sit with it, or if situations didn't allow, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And still today, there's a lot of cultures, particularly from the Middle East, the body has to be buried
within a certain
amount of time, and intact.
I was just going to say it has to be whole.
It has to be whole. So if there can't be organ donors, they can't. If a part was missing because of an accident, they have to find the part. It has to be brought back to the body.
And we have
or they're always in unrest.
We have patients like that in our skilled nursing. So I covered down in the skilled nursing.
So where does that come from? If not from centuries of things have happened and it's been passed down.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes me think back to the control thing, because it's like, if we're thinking about, like, for example, voodoo and being able to have these, like, corpses available to reanimate and do whatever you want, you can't have a zombie missing a leg or they're not very efficient, right?
Mm-hmm. But if they're snatching just their soul and bottling them up.
That's true. But the corpse, at least.
Well, okay, then, like, so it doesn't say. But, okay, let's say we snatch Chuck's soul.
Oh, poor Chuck.
Do we put Chuck in Fred's body?
See, now that I don't know, because I don't...
I thought it was just the body.
I don't think it's an assigned thing. I really don't think so much it's assigned. Like, we can't take Fred's soul and put him in, Chuck's body when Chuck leaves.
Oh.
Well, I think it's... you have maybe a period of time where if Fred was alive and Fred passes away and Fred's soul completely leaves, Fred's body is sitting there unattended. It's open. It's
there's a lot of
vessel.
Yeah.
For whatever wants to enter.
That's why I want the bears in Yellowstone to eat.
There's a lot, though, in Chinese beliefs about that.
Roll me off the back of my 8-foot flatbed in that dually and leave me for the bears.
Good.
Because I don't want to be reanimated.
Write that down. So when
we can just confirm.
Just push. One big push.
So this opens a whole can of questions for me.
In spring, preferably when they're hungry, because they'll just take it all. Yeah.
To the demonologist in the room.
Yes.
So have you come across someone that you legitimately feel is possessed by something bad?
No.
I think that I've come across one.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I've never personally met one.
And this is, I was going to try bringing this up at the beginning with but here we are.
Let's do it.
So I came across a person, And you know how you can feel people?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like when you're looking at someone in a casket, you can't feel them. Right?
Don't go there. You're joking.
So I came across this guy. I couldn't feel him.
Oh,
What?
a living guy.
In the actual...
There's nothing there.
Nothing was there.
He was a living guy, but he had no energy around him at all.
But he looked fine. Like, he didn't look like a zombie. But I could not feel him.
How well did you know this guy?
Not very.
Okay.
But
Did you ever do a follow-up?
No, I didn't want to
who
see
is
him
this
ever again.
man? I need to...
So it's kind of funny because last week we were interviewed by Christian Deacon, right, for his new podcast, and he followed up by text, and we're gonna talk to him about a case of possession that he saw in his home country.
Get out.
Yes.
Is he from Cuba or Puerto Rico?
No, he was from
Central America.
Central America, but I can't read.
Oh.
Oh God, he's gonna slaughter me for this. But sorry,
Okay.
Christian, but I can't.
Spooky.
He did, and he told me about it, and I thought this is something that I want to talk to him about and record. But so that's frightening. I can't imagine how frightening it is because I feel everybody.
I do have one possible answer to that.
Yeah.
And this is a story that came from Edgar Casey.
Oh.
He was in Chicago, I think, if I remember right, at a big building, and he was waiting for the elevator. And the elevator doors open, and he was like, no, I'll catch the next one. And the way he tells the story later is that he knew for sure something was wrong, because when those elevator doors opened, he could not see one person's aura. If you know about Edgar Casey, he was a great prophet and spiritual person. It really brought a lot of this information to the public. But when the elevator doors opened, he said he could not see one person's aura.
Interesting.
In that elevator. And after those doors closed, the cable broke and that elevator fell, and everybody in there passed away.
So the spirit already rolled
So
out.
the spirit had already
That
departed.
stresses me out.
So in your particular case, that could be a possibility. That's why I was asking how well you knew that guy and if you knew any follow-up. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying that is one possible.
So I've been thinking about that guy this whole time because I was thinking about bringing it up at the beginning. And as the conversation goes, the way the conversation goes, I don't know how possession works. I don't know if you can feel a demon, if a demon is a person, if whatever you want to throw in there. If the thread was cut and a demon's in there, how do you know? All good questions.
There. But going back to Katie's story, you had the motorcycle accident.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that crazy?
And if he was, for whatever reason, maybe he left for a minute.
I know. That's what I wonder.
So then this spirit of a child entered, and the spirit of this child just had this particular message to get out.
I know. He was talking about, like, Barney or something and going on and was pumped about, like, a TV show and...
Exactly. So this child,
crazy?
this spirit had a message to get out.
Oh, he got it out, I guess.
Used this body to get that message out, and then he left so your person could come back in.
That's
or
interesting.
Another possibility is being in an accident and knowing that it was a child. It's possible then that the original, spirit inside that body allowed the child to come in for those.
That's so interesting.
Because it's like, yeah, okay, come in, tell your story, buddy.
And then
Move
pull
on.
out.
Yeah. So then when the child got the message out, the child was happy, moved on.
That's so crazy.
So
literally our bodies are pretty much useless is what you're saying. People can just do whatever and our bodies are
I
just
don't think
our
so. I think
bodies.
they're dimensional.
yeah, there's a lot of things going on here. But again, coming back to the voodoo, to the zombies, if you've got one of these theories is that there is an entity that will enter a body that has already been vacated. And then that entity will take over that body.
That's the question. Is it spirit? Like, that's, to me, the big thing is, like, are zombies where a spirit has entered? Or is it literally just reanimation of corpse?
See, now that's what it is. I think a lot of people go with the reanimation, but I think
Well, it sounds like these practitioners can harness the soul.
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, that's why I'm kind of interested in the science behind the reanimation, because to me it's like, that's not possible.
A reanimated body, you would think without any kind of direction would know what to do because it doesn't have a mind.
Right.
But then again, that makes me wonder, are they working, and again, they're not going to admit this publicly, but are they working with a type of entity that can enter the body?
And that's what they're
using. An empty body, yeah.
So a friend of mine, an acquaintance of mine really, but owns a house in South Carolina that was a high priestess, voodoo priestess. Used to own it.
That's amazing.
The house was built in the 1700s.
That's amazing.
And she has it. And she said the stuff that goes on in that house is crazy.
Oh, I bet it's
I'll bet it is.
I bet it's bonkers up in there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it.
So she didn't know until she started doing some historical research on the home.
Oh, so she bought it and had no idea?
No, she didn't know.
Shit.
She didn't know.
She's like, what planet am I on in this house?
All this stuff kept happening, and everybody's like, you don't know whose house that is? And then the townspeople, because it's a kind of a predominantly old Southern Black area, they started talking about, well, this is what my grandma told me, and it was passed down that this was the high priestess house. When it was built, it was built for the high priestess. And it says, so she started doing research. She's like, oh my God. So, yeah.
Wow.
I said, well, that's never going to calm down.
I would give up everything to live in that house. I kid you not. That's amazing.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be cool.
I'll have fun with it. I'd make some new friends and everything.
I know, right?
Maybe a vacation home.
Weeks at a stint, right? And you're out. Yeah. We think about imprints, like things that have imprinted in a place.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a house like that.
Is full. Oh,
and there's homes all over the South like that, right?
Especially, I love the South. It's so rich in that history.
Yes,
spiritual, mystical.
The whole voodoo vibe. When you go to New Orleans, I haven't been there in quite a while, but it wasn't to party. It was to experience. I want to walk at night through those streets. It was the very first place I ever felt completely at home.
Wow.
I feel like Tennessee.
Tennessee's great, but I got it. Well, it was the French Quarter of New Orleans. It wasn't anywhere else. So it's like, was I here right at the beginning of the French Quarter? Because I walked through the streets. It's like I almost like I could see the horses and carriages, and almost like I knew what was exactly right around the corner, and the feelings, the vibe, and everything was like, coming home.
It's almost going back to the past life thing.
Yeah,
I was going to say you could be connecting with somebody.
Yeah. It's just a really neat place for me, but the energy there is. The French Quarter is such a small place. And it's kind of interesting that through Katrina and all of the devastation that happened all around it, didn't hit the French Quarter at all.
Yeah.
No
It was completely spared. Tornadoes go around the French Quarter. I mean, New Orleans just got hit with another tornado a couple of weeks ago.
So
didn't
crazy.
hit the French Quarter at all. French Quarter is like always spared. There's a lot of energy there to protect it.
That's so cool.
Of course, the elevation's a tiny bit higher than the rest of New Orleans, but not that much.
But still, that doesn't affect tornadoes usually.
No. So it's just there's just kind of a fascinating culture, and voodoo is alive and well there. Well, our voodoo episode, I forget what the numbers are, but there's like almost 2 million voodoo practitioners in New York City alone, they said.
Whoa.
I mean, there's an astronomical, and it's the fastest growing religion.
I believe that because I feel like it's so deeply rooted in the origin of everything that I can see why it's appealing, and people feel the power of that.
I think the power there, I think the spiritual connection to the earth is there.
Oh, yeah.
These earth spiritualities that are connecting back to our roots.
And
I think
strong.
that's a big deal.
It's certainly not a subtle subtle in anything it does.
No. But a lot of their stuff and a lot of their practices are very behind closed doors because,
Stigma.
it's,
Stigmatism.
yeah. Mm-hmm. But you got somebody practicing the snatching of souls. I don't think you want to make that very public.
Yeah, that's
I
not
get
something
that.
usually advertised.
No. It's
And
not a
also
shingle hanging out like a lawyer, esquire, snatcher of souls.
Reanimate bodies, it's fine.
Actually, you might be able to do a business with that now that you mentioned snatch those souls.
That's something I was going to bring up to you guys, and I forgot to tell you. So, there's this chick, and I think this is a great side gig. For $500, she's a very nice looking lady. She dresses all in black, and she shows up at a funeral, and she stands only in the back, and so that everybody thinks there's something going down. You can hire her.
I love that.
Funerals.
I need
Oh
that.
my God. So, you've got the wife mourning the guy, and then you got this hot chick in the back in black.
That's why didn't I think of that category?
I know, like, and all of the gals in America who look like this gal, you need to be doing this, because for $500 a pop, you can be going to funerals and creating them.
She knows.
She doesn't say a thing. She doesn't talk to anybody. She comes in and she leaves in a dark SUV, and nobody knows who she is.
I love that so much.
Isn't that awesome?
I'm kind of mad that I didn't like it at first, honestly, because I would totally do that.
So speaking as a former fellow who went to a lot of funerals, you would be shocked how many family things happen because of the mysterious person in the back.
Oh my God. I need a reality show. I need a reality show on these funerals.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes. Oh my God. Guys, we're
Just
so
set up
bad.
a trail cam. I want to see that.
We're so bad.
Oh my God.
I'm going to start going to funerals now.
There's nothing that really freaks me out because we deal with so much paranormal weirdness. But I'm like, God, some of these money making schemes, like, why didn't I think of this?
Damn.
No kidding. Man, that could be lucrative.
Well, we deal with so much stuff, and when I call somebody and they start telling me, and they're like, "You're probably going to think this is weird." It's like, dude, you haven't even moved my weird meter.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Good luck.
So are zombies real?
Oh, God. Thumb up, thumb down, Katie. Real?
Voodoo zombies, yes. Science, virus zombies, no.
Okay. Mark?
Oh, good clarification.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yes. That's it.
Tim?
I'm still in the weird category for just about everything in my life because the astro stuff has blown my mind. So I'm going to go with highly probable.
Not a commitment, but getting there.
That's right. I'm not ready for the ring yet.
We'll check back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Colleen, what do you think?
Based on my friends who I know very well, and she's one of the most rational people I've ever met, I'm going to say it's hard to disagree with what she saw.
That is spooky. I forgot about that for a minute. That's a very scary
Walking
experience.
on an island with no one around, and walking and coming across somebody like that, like you said, devoid of anything that you could feel.
Oh.
Like she said, there was nothing there.
That is the spookiest
And the
part.
smell of a rotting corpse, and the disheveled appearance, and the clothing kind of falling off of them, and she had absolutely zero doubt. Absolutely zero doubt. And she was not grown up with voodoo. She happened to be there on the island for an extended period of time, but
Oh, spooky.
nope. So I would say, based on her, I would lean towards yes.
Yeah, well, looks like we have an affirmative yes here.
Mm-hmm. They're rare, but yes.
Happy Halloween.
Yes. All right. We thank you for joining us today on Speaking of Spirits as we discuss possible side gigs and zombies. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope to catch you on the next podcast. Thank you.
Yeah.